And being in agony, he prayed the longer. His sweat became great drops of blood trickling on the ground. Hear the sound of disciples sleeping under such emotional stress. The Lord is grieving, pleading with the Lord to free him from the wrath of the sin that began in Eden. The very rare hematidrosis phenomenon. Great drops of bloody sweat leaking from the sun. After the arrest, he was brought before the Sanhedrin and Caiaphas the high priest. And it was here the first physical trauma was so inflicted. Yeah, struck and spit in the face, stand in his place. Angels in heaven battle ready, man, imagine the grace. Battered and bruised, exhausted, he could've lost it. How could he choose to place his blood on these fools, to put his son in their shoes, and now they can choose the murderer of Barabbas or the king of the Jews, stripped of his clothes, tied to a post. Imagine the whips, imagine the blows. The whips consist of leather strips with lead tips, lashed down on the skin again and again. At first the thongs would only cut through the skin, but now down through the white meat, exposing his ribs, oozing the blood, long ripping to skin. Preliminary consequence of your sin. The half-fainting Jesus, laying in a puddle of his blood, it's like breathing. His bare back of raw flesh is covered in a gown. Prayers prayed for a crown for the second round. Pressed down, causing copious bleeding. And when the soldiers were all done with their deeds, and he kept the crown, but they took his staff and ripped his robe off right along with the scabs. With the makeshift bandage removed, the pouring out of blood from the scourging resumed. As he walks, he eavesdrops, hopes and thoughts all along the Via Dolorosa. Crushed by the weight, he stumbles and halts. Rough wood grinds in the meat of his shoulders. Jesus the King is offered wine mixed with myrrh, a mild analgesic mixture. He refused to drink. Mixed emotional mind needs be clear to think. He lays on the ground, refusing to quit. The legionnaire searching for the gaps in his wrists. Heavy square iron nail smashed in his flesh. Imagine the blood, imagine the mess. Quickly he moves to the other side of his chest, careful not to pull him too tightly so he might be able to breathe agonally. Back foot hard pressed back in the right one. Please don't confuse the pain for a slight one. Knees left moderately flexed as the victim is now crucified. Crucified as the victim is now crucified till his death. Slowly he sags, weight on the nails, excruciating pain from his wrist to his brain. Pushing himself up to breathe, he placed the full weight on the nails in his feet. Good grief, what'd he do to deserve such immense pain to occur? As the nails now begin to tear through his nerves, look what we did to the God that we serve. At this point, as his arms fatigue, great waves of pain begin to sweep over each and every muscle knob and throbbing. The spirit is strong, but his flesh is weak. Muscles out of commission, valley of decision. He fights hard to raise himself up to breathe. Carbon dioxide in his lungs and bloodstream. Tight cramps partially subsiding. Spasmodically up, he can push himself, waste nearly his very last breath over someone else. Father, forgive them, they know not who they killing. Please don't hold this charge here against them. Looking down at his terror-stricken mother, listen. John, behold your mother, woman, behold your son. Eloi, Eloi, sabachthani. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Hour after hour, limitless pain. Cycles of twisting, joint rending, strain, asphyxiation, his tissues torn from his lacerated back, being ripped by the timbrous cracks. Wait a minute, this pain is immense. Terrible ache deep down in his chest. Pericardium is slowly filled with serum, compressing his heart's beating. 20 seconds on, I'm poured out like water. 14th verse on my bones are sorta out of whack, my heart like wax, melting away as my cardiac. Is it almost over? My strength is dried up. He says I thirst and the sponge is brought up. The body of Jesus is now in extremes, a desire to please God in the flesh, and he's stuck in between. Sudden chills of death start to creep in. It is finished, he's screaming, and with the mission of atonement finally completing, finally the spirit can leave him. With one last surge of strength, once again he pressed his torn feet against the nails. Exhales words I can't forget. Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit.